Lesson 7, Quadratic Inequalities. A quadratic inequality is an equation of second degree that uses inequality sign instead of equal sign. In our previous lesson, we have quadratic equation. Quadratic equation is defined as ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. For our next topic, we have quadratic inequalities. So, quadratic inequalities. Now, before we define the quadratic inequalities, let us first have our review. So, we have four symbols for inequalities. So, the first one is this one. Okay. So, these four are the symbols for inequalities. So, first, para malaman natin kung greater than or less than, tingnan ang inyong kanang kamay, then i-bend ninyo, so your right hand will form greater than. Then, ang inyong namang left hand, i-bend nyo, this will form less than. Then, kapag naman merong underline ang greater than, this is called greater than or equal to. At kapag naman yung less than ay may underline sa ilalim, ang basa dun ay less than or equal to. Quadratic inequalities. Forms of quadratic inequalities. So we have four forms. So the first one is ax squared plus bx plus c is greater than 0. The other one is ax squared plus bx plus c less than 0. The third one is ax squared plus bx plus c greater than or equal to 0. And last is ax squared plus bx plus c less than or equal to 0. So these are the four forms of quadratic inequalities. Before we have further discussions on quadratic equations, let us first have our review. So, for our review direction, illustrate the following using the number line. So, I have listed here four inequalities. So, we have number 1, x is greater than 2. Number 2, x is less than 1. Number 3, x is greater than or equal to 0. And x is less than or equal to 5. So it says here, we are going to illustrate these inequalities using our number line. So our number line is the best illustration of the complete set of integers. So let us have first the number 1. X is greater than 2. So we are going to make our number line. So let's start with negative 1, 0, 1, 2, 3. Okay, now it says here x is greater than 2. So what are the values that are greater than 2? Ano ba yung mga numbers na mas malaki sa 2? So we have 3, so we have 4, and so on. So meaning, it goes to the right. So kapag greater than, it moves to the right. Now, so greater than 2, is 2 included? No, obviously not. So kapag hindi included, you're going to make a circle illustrating that 2 is not part of the solution for x. So, mas malaki sa 2. So, pwede siyang 2.1. Pwedeng 2.2. Okay, so hindi lang kasali ang 2. Then, after having this circle, you're going to shade the number line going to the right. Okay. And this illustration gives us x greater than 2. So that is the illustration for the number 1. Then for number 2, x is less than 1. So again, we're making our number line. Let's start with negative 2, negative 1, 0, 1, 2. Now, less than. Kapag naman siya ay less than, going to the left naman tayo. It moves to the left. Going to the left. Okay, so where is 1? So this is 1. Kapag less than, ay hindi rin siya included. So we are making again another circle. An empty circle. Okay. So pag less than 1, mababa sa 1. So ito yung 0, negative 1, negative 2. So meaning it moves to the right. Pero kasali din yung 1.1. Kasali rin yung 0.9, 0.8. So yung pababa ng 1. So going to the left, so this is the solution or the illustration of our inequality. So you have to shade the part, and this is x is less than 1. Okay. Now, what is now the difference of our number 1 to number 3? So, greater than for number 1 and for number 3 is greater than or equal. So, kapag greater than or equal, so x is greater than or equal to 0. So, let's have our illustration. So, let's have 0, 1, 2, 3, negative 1. So, greater than to the right. So, it moves to the right. Now, where is our 0? So, you're going to locate the 0. This one is our 0. Now, it says here, greater than or equal. Pag sinabing or equal, kasali yung 0. So, instead of making an empty circle, you're going now to block the circle, meaning kasali si 0. So, full circle siya, kasali si 0, then going to the right because it's greater than. So, yun. So, this illustrates our inequality. X is greater than or equal to 0. Then, for number 5, so x is less than or equal to 5. So, let's start with 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Then, you're going to locate 5. So, this is our 5. Then, less than or equal. So, less than is going to the left. Then, or equal. So, pag sinabing or equal, kasali si 5. So, we are making this a black circle. Okay. Then, going to the left. So, this is the illustration of our inequality. So, this is x is less than or equal to 5. Another set of review. Direction. Give the inequalities of the following. So, number 1. Okay. So, we are going to take a look first at our number line. So, look at the value where you can find the circle. Okay. So, it is in 4. Then, you are going to know what's the variable. So, we have x. We have x. So, we are going to write x. Okay. Then, our 0 is 4. So, this is 4. Okay. Then, is 4 included? So, it is a clear circle. So, hindi siya dotted or hindi siya shaded. So, hindi siya kasali. Then, it goes to the right. So, pag to the right, meaning x is greater than 4. And that is the answer for number 1. Then, for number 2, okay, our variable is x. Okay. Then, the number where you can find 0 is at negative 2. Okay? Then, it goes to the left. So, it goes to the left. And meaning, negative 2 is not part of the solution for x. So, x is less than 2. Okay, then for number 3, so our variable is y. So, y. Then, the number where you can locate the circle is at 14. Okay, and as you can see, our circle is shaded. So, meaning, 14 is included. So, equal. Then, goes to the left. So, if it goes to the left, it is less than. So, our solution for number 3 is y less than or equal to 14. Then, for number 4, okay, our variable is y. Then, the number you can find 0, the number you can find the shaded, the circle is at negative 1. So, negative 1. And the circle is shaded. So, it is included. So, equal or equal. Then, it goes to the right. So, going to the right, that is greater than. So, from here, we can say that y is greater than or equal to negative 1. How about the inequalities for numbers 5, 6, and 7? So, as you can see in our number line, we have two circles. So, located at negative 2 and at 3. So, how are we going to write the inequalities for this number? So, isa-isahin natin. Una, ay yun munang nasa right side. So, our variable is x. Then, kasali ba ang 3? Hindi, kasi it is unshaded. So, x going to the right. So, that is greater than 3. Okay. So, yung portion na yon ay x is greater than 3. Dito naman sa kabila, so, x, the circle is located at negative 2. Our variable is x. Then, going to the left, hindi kasali ang 2, kaya siya ay x less than 2. Okay, so ibig sabihin, sa ating number line, meron tayong dalawang inequality. X is greater than 3 and x is less than 2. Ngayon, kailangan natin siyang pagsamahin. Kailangan natin lang gawin na isang variable. Okay, paano siya pagsasamahin? So, ganito. So, x sa gitna, x. Then, you're going to write less than 2. Okay. Then, greater than 3. So, x is less than 2, greater than 3. So, paano nangyari yon? Kapag ang pagbasa ay going to the right, ang symbol natin is kung ano yung symbol. Then, kapag ang basa ay to the left, nag-iiba ang basa. So, ito ay less than, going to the right. Ang symbol na ito, less than. Pero babasahin siya natin ng greater than. So, nag-iiba ang basa, napapalitan. So, x is less than 2 and x is greater than 3. So, nakuha. So, ganon ang pagsasama ng dalawang inequalities na makikita sa isang number line. Okay. Gawin natin ulit yung number. So, isulat natin. So, ang basa dito, x is less than 2 and x is greater than 3. So, take note, less than siya, pero ang basa ay greater than. Kasi going to the left. Okay, number 6. So, for number 6, we have our variable, let's say this is an x, okay? So, x is greater than, hindi kasali ang 5, kaya siya ay greater than 5. So, dito naman, another circle, x, kasali ang 4, kaya siya may equal, pero going to the left, kaya siya ay less than. X is less than 4. So, kung pagsasamahin natin siya, again, so we have x is greater than 5, and x is less than or equal to 4. So, kung pagsasamahin natin siya, we will have x is less than or equal to 4, greater than 5. So, ito ang ating inequality. X is less than or equal to 4, greater than 5. Nag-iiba ang basa. Less than ang symbol, pero ang basa ay greater than. Okay, how about for the last, number 7? So, as you can see, we have two circles. Our variable is x. Okay. So, unahin natin kay 3. So, si 3. Okay, kapag kay 3 ka tumingin, saan ang shade ng ating solution? Or number line? Going to the left, to the right, or to the left? So, to the left. So, magiging siyang x is less than. Kasali bang 3? Oo, kasali kaya, or equal sa 3. Kapag tumingin ka kay 3. Okay, kapag tumingin ka naman kay 0, so again, our variable is x. Okay? Pasaan naman ang shade? Is it going to the left or going to the right? So, going to the right. So, greater than. Kasali ba si 0? Oo, kasi shaded. So, x is greater than or equal to 0. So, meron tayong solution na x is greater than or equal to 0 and x is less than or equal to 3. Kung pagsasamahin natin to, so we will have x less than or equal to 3 greater than or equal to 0. So, ito ang ating inequalities. Solving quadratic inequalities. Example number 1. Solve x squared plus 5x minus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. So, for our step 1, we are going to rewrite this given into standard form of quadratic inequalities. So, since this is in standard form, let us just copy it. So, we have x squared plus 5x minus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. Then, for our next step, so for our step 2, okay, gagawin natin yung inequalities na equality. So, we are going to change greater than or equal to equal. So, we will have x squared plus 5x minus 6 equals 0. Step 3. So, we have, let's factor. So, we have x plus 6 and x minus 1 is equal to 0. So, we have positive 6, negative x. Okay, so that is positive 5x, then negative 6. Then, 0 product property. So, that is x plus 6 equals 0. And x minus 1 is equal to 0. Then, the additive inverse. X plus 6 minus 6 equals 0. Minus 6. So, cancel. X is equal to negative 6. Then, x minus 1, additive inverse plus 1 equals 0 plus 1. So, we'll have cancel. X is equal to 1. So, we have x sub 1 and x sub 2. So our solution is x sub 1, negative 6, x sub 2 is positive 1. So after getting our solution, we are going to proceed to our step 4. So step 4, we are going to plot the two solutions in our number line. So we have negative step 4. We are going to plot the solution in our number line. So our solution is negative 6 and positive 1. So as you can see, we divided the number line into 3 parts. So we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, now, since our inequalities is greater than or equal to 0, so 6 and negative 1 is part of our solution. Kung siya ay part of solution, siya ay naka-shaded. Our circle is now shaded. Now, then for our step 5, we are going to get critical points. Saan kukuha ng critical points? Dito sa ating 3 parts. So, ito yung first, ito yung second, first, second, and third. So, hahanap ka ng numbers sa pagitan nitong mga parts na to. Okay. So, critical points for part 1. So, ano yung mga numbers na makikita mo sa part 1? So, yung mga pababa. So, let's have negative 10. Ang kuhanin natin ay negative 10. Then, how about sa part 2? Sa part 2, pwede natin kuhanin, nandito yung negative 10. So, sa part 2, 0. Then, sa part 3, okay, kuhanin natin ang halimbawa ay 5. Nandito yung 5. Yan. So, sa pagkuha ng critical points, kahit aling numbers sa pagitan nitong mga interval na to. So, this is negative 6 to negative infinity, negative 6 to positive 1, then 1 to positive infinity. Kuha ka ng numbers na kahit alin dyan na isa. Then, we are going to substitute these critical points to our given equation. So, let's solve first for number 1. If x is equal to negative 10, so we have x squared plus 5x minus 6 greater than or equal to 0. Then negative 10, let's substitute. So we have negative 10 squared plus 5 times negative 10 minus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. So negative 10 times negative 10, that is 100. Then 5 times negative 10 is negative 50. Then minus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. So we have 100 minus 50, that is 50. Minus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. 50 minus 6, that is 44, is greater than to 0. Is it true or false? Is 44 greater than or equal to 0? So this is true. So for our first interval, that is true. Okay. Then, how about if x is equal to 0? So, if x is equal to 0, let's solve. So, we'll have x squared plus 5x minus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. So, if x is equal to 0, so that is 0 squared plus 5 times 0 minus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. So, 0 squared is 0. 5 times 0 is 0. Minus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. 0 plus 0 is 0. 0 minus 6 is negative 6. Greater than or equal to 0. Malaki ba ang negative 6 kaysa 0? The answer is false. Okay. So, for our interval, sa gitna, siya ay false. Okay. Then, last, how about if x is equal to 5? So, we'll have if x is equal to 5. So, x squared plus 5x minus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. So, we have 5 squared plus 5 times 5 minus 6 is equal to is greater than or equal to 0. So, we have 25 plus 25 minus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. So, 25 plus 25, 50. Minus 6 is greater than or equal to 0. So, 44. So, 50 minus 6 is 44 greater than or equal to 0. Is it true or false? Ang 44 ba malaki sa 0? This is true. Okay, so this is true. The solution is, so using again our number line, we have negative 6, we have 1. So negative 6 is part of the solution and 1 is part of the solution because it is greater than or equal. Okay, so we have here x is less than or equal to negative 6. X is greater than or equal to 1. So, x is greater than or equal to 1 and x is less than or equal to negative 6. So, pagsasamahin natin siya, so we have x is less than or equal to negative 6, greater than or equal to 1.